This is CBN NewsWatch.
It is Wednesday, May 26th. I'm Ephraim Graham. Thank you so much for joining us. Ahead today, after the war between Israel and Hamas, can the United States really provide aid to Gaza without helping terrorists in Hamas? And what role does Iran play in the conflict in the Middle East? Today is the day for the eclipse known as the super blood moon, which will be seen around the world, the first eclipse since 2019. As questions grow about whether COVID came from a lab in China, one U.S. senator tells CBN News there could be a reason leading U.S. scientists have downplayed the lab theory, and an outreach to help first-year Christian college students to help them to preserve their faith as they begin a new chapter in their lives. All those stories and more are ahead in today's edition of CBN NewsWatch. I want to begin this half hour in the Middle East, where Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with both Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Palestinian Authority President Mahmoud Abbas Tuesday as part of his trip to the region in the aftermath of the conflict between Hamas and Israel. As Chris Mitchell now reports from Jerusalem, the role of Iran in all of this is overshadowing relations between the United States and Israel.
U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken met with PA President Mahmoud Abbas and pledged more U.S. aid to the Palestinian Authority. It's all part of the Biden administration's effort to renew negotiations for a two-state solution and work with Mahmoud Abbas, currently in the 15th year of a four-year term. Abbas canceled new elections several weeks ago. Blinken also met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who told the Secretary of State he hoped the U.S. will not renew the nuclear deal with Iran, and that if necessary, Israel will chart its own course on Iran.
We also iterated that whatever happens, Israel will always reserve the right to defend itself against a regime committed to our destruction, committed to getting the weapons of mass destruction.
Blinken came with a message to rebuild Gaza.
The United States will work to rally international support around that effort while also making our own significant contributions. We'll work with our partners closely with all to ensure that Hamas does not benefit.
For many, it's an open question to see how U.S. and international aid can rebuild Gaza without benefiting Hamas. After the conflict, Hamas's leader gave much of the credit to Iran.
And I cannot but thank those who brought forth money and weaponry to the valiant resistance, the Islamic Republic of Iran, who did not hold back money, weapons, or technical support.
During the conflict, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu displayed an Iranian drone intercepted on the Jordanian border.
And that, I think, says everything on the true patron of terror in the Middle East and in the world, Iran.
It's this flagrant support of Hamas and other terror groups in the region that led 44 Republican senators to send a letter to President Biden to suspend its nuclear talks with the Islamic regime. Many, like former Israeli ambassador to the U.S. Ron Dermer, are concerned sanctions relief would enable Iran to export its terror throughout the region.
Iran is stirring the pot in Iraq, in Syria, in Lebanon, in Yemen, in Gaza. That's all of Iran's terror proxies in the region, which is another reason, while this is going on in Gaza, we shouldn't lose sight of who the big enemy is, Iran. I hope very much that the U.S. administration will not go back into the dangerous nuclear deal with Iran, and they will continue to keep the pressure on that Iranian regime that represents a threat to us, it represents a threat to our Arab neighbors, and it represents a threat to peace throughout the region.
Here now with more is CBN Middle East Bureau Chief Chris Mitchell. So, Chris, Secretary of State Antony Blinken says the U.S. will provide hundreds of millions of dollars to rebuild Gaza, but keep it out of the hands of Hamas. Is that realistic?
Ephraim, I really don't think it is. I just got off the phone a few minutes ago with an Israeli expert that really shows how terrorist organizations are funded. And she says, don't send any cash. Instead, send humanitarian aid, supplies, food, medicine, and clothes. The reason is because Hamas needs that cash to build its tunnels and rockets, and it controls Gaza. Inside Gaza, it's impossible to monitor that cash or keep it separate from Hamas. So the PA for itself, and Blinken says he's going to work with the PA to do that. They don't have any control in the Gaza Strip, and Hamas is a dictatorship. They took over in 2007. They control that area with an iron fist. There's been no election since 2007, and it bears repeating that their charter says it plans to obliterate Israel, kill Jews all over the world. So any money going into the Gaza Strip right now really looks like it can fall into the hands of Hamas and once again build its armaments to go ahead and try to destroy Israel.
Chris, Blinken talked with the Palestinian Authority president with hopes of renewing talks of the two-state solution. What are some of the other voices he might not have been hearing?
Well, Ephraim, there's really two worldviews going here. One is the State Department, and then the other worldview is really what's happening here on the ground. A recent poll said that 57% of Palestinians are opposed to a two-state solution, and 57% they support armed resistance. And also Hamas is gaining popularity not only in Gaza, but here or near here in what's called the West Bank. And also some of the voices you may not hear, Fatah, Jabril Rajoub, he's on the Central Committee of Fatah, which is the political party of Mahmoud Abbas. He's threatening a third intifada. So these are some of the voices you really don't hear. And Hamas and the Palestinian Authority, they were really competing for who's going to control the Palestinian people. And now Abbas is saying he doesn't want Jews on the Temple Mount as part of any negotiations. And that's all part of this competition between Fatah and the Palestinian Authority and Hamas of who's going to get the allegiance of the Palestinian people.
Chris, with this war behind Israel, what's the likelihood of leaders coming up with a coalition government now?
Well, it seems fairly unlikely right now, Ephraim. Yair Lapid, he's the head of the Yesh Atid party, and he's got the mandate right now to form the next government. He took that over after Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu failed. He's got till June 2nd, just a few more days. It seems unlikely he'll be able to form a government. The war between Hamas and Israel really upset his plans for a coalition. What happens after June 2nd is that the Knesset will have 3 weeks, 21 days, to be able to form a government. And that will give a chance to Benjamin Netanyahu and his Likud party, if they can get Naftali Bennett, which is part of a right-wing party called Yamina, and 2 other seats, they'll be able to get a coalition. There's reports right now they can get people from the New Hope, but they say they deny them. So we'll see what happens. It's possible, Ephraim, we could be seeing a 5th election in just more than 2 years.
All right, I'll be watching and waiting. Chris Mitchell, thank you so much for your time. Back here at home, New York prosecutors have convened a special grand jury to consider evidence in a criminal investigation into former President Donald Trump's business dealings. Prosecutor Cyrus Vance Jr. is conducting a wide-ranging investigation into a variety of matters. The new grand jury could eventually be asked to consider returning indictments. Former President Trump calls the investigation a, quote, witch hunt. And he said in a statement, this is purely political and an affront to the almost 75 million voters who supported me in the presidential election, and is being driven by highly partisan Democrat prosecutors. And today's the day for a lunar eclipse that will look like a blood moon in some places. It's already been seen in Australia. You can see the Earth's shadowing falling partly across the moon at the start of the eclipse. This eclipse will be a super blood moon like the one seen here from the past, with the reddish-orange color being the result of all the sunrises and sunset in the Earth's atmosphere projected onto the surface of the eclipsed moon. Some ministers say the large number of blood moon eclipses in recent years is one of many signs of the end times. Coming up, as more evidence has come out supporting the possibility that COVID came from a lab in China, lawmakers in Washington want answers. And one senator tells CBN News why a leading American scientist have downplayed the laboratory theory. We'll have the story for you when we come back.
Before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faith Wire. Monday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Thursday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Welcome back. We turn now to growing questions about where COVID-19 came from. As we reported yesterday, U.S. intelligence and recent news reports show workers at a lab in Wuhan, China, showed COVID-like symptoms as far back as November of 2019. Now, lawmakers are demanding answers, with one senator telling CBN News there could be a reason top U.S. scientists have downplayed the lab theory. Capitol Hill correspondent Abigail Robertson reports.
Senator Rand Paul is becoming more and more convinced COVID-19 originated in a lab in Wuhan, and he fears China may not be the only country responsible for creating it.
NIH and Dr. Fauci have been funding Wuhan research.
Paul suggests COVID-19 spread by mistake during gain-of-function experiments intended to study the virus, conducted by a U.S.-supported group called EcoHealth.
They do it through an intermediary called EcoHealth. Interestingly, when they investigated whether this virus came out of a lab or occurred naturally, they hired the head of EcoHealth to be in charge of the investigation.
In Senate hearings,
with all due respect, you are entirely and completely incorrect.
Dr. Fauci categorically denies those claims, although he now admits COVID-19 might not be natural.
The NIH has not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute.
Senator Paul, however, thinks Fauci hasn't been honest with the American people.
For goodness sakes, it looks like people who had a self-interest in funding this lab were the ones investigating, and that they were trying to obscure the truth.
How confident are you that we will get to the bottom of where this virus came from?
I think China will not be helpful, but we know a couple of things. They have tested thousands of animals in that wet market. You know, the people who say this came out of nature say it didn't come from the lab, it came from this exotic wet market with these exotic animals. They've tested thousands of them. None of them have had the virus so far.
Paul believes any Americans responsible should face consequences.
The people who supported funding of gain-of-function, the creation of superviruses, the people who supported giving this money to the Wuhan Institute should immediately be relieved of their responsibilities. So Dr. Fauci should go.
Abigail Robertson, CBN News.
Still ahead, music fans preparing for the return of live concerts as leaders lift COVID-19 restrictions across the country. And music makers are packing up to perform in a city near you. We're sitting down with one artist just as the tickets go on sale.
Daddy?
Yeah, buddy?
How many nickels are in a dollar?
There are 20 nickels in a dollar.
How do birds fly? Does milk really make my bones stronger?
Yeah.
Daddy, when we die, will we go to heaven?
Do you have the answer to life's biggest question? Call the 700 Club. We'll help you find answers to the important questions life brings your way.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. To watch the CBN News Channel, download the app or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Hello, I'm Dr. David Perlmutter, board-certified neurologist and #1 New York Times bestselling author. Wouldn't it be great to boost your energy, eliminate brain fog, and even reverse brain disease? Well, you can, and I'm going to show you how, along with some of the world's most well-respected brain experts, in this DVD, Protect Your Brain.
Get Protect Your Brain, a free DVD only from the Christian Broadcasting Network, featuring experts on the cutting edge of neuroscience and brain health.
No matter how many times you've failed in the past, you really can do this.
In Protect Your Brain, you'll discover simple strategies to keep your brain young and healthy. Improve your memory. Discover the gut-brain connection. In Protect Your Brain. Get your free copy at cbn.com or call 1-800-700-7000.
If you want to improve the quality of your life, get the DVD Protect Your Brain and get it today.
He's a husband, father, singer, songwriter, preacher, and teacher, and he's among the first round of Christian artists to announce he's getting back on the road and preparing for live audiences. Taran Wells is coming to a city near you this fall with his Citizen of Heaven tour. We had the chance to sit down with the Grammy-nominated singer a few times over the years. Here is some of his latest music and some of our conversation.
I'm Taran Wells.
And we're on the set of our new music video, Hold Us Together.
All right, let's do it, guys.
I will trust in you and know that you are with me forever.
I am so interested to know where this song came from.
Actually, the song came from a good friend of mine. He was feeling what was going on during the pandemic, and when he played me the song, I kind of was in tears when I heard it. We worked on it together. I changed some of the lyrics just to really bring home the message, and when I called you to be on it, I just felt like we could take it so much further and give people this message and give people hope through music, because at the end of the day, you know, no matter what, I think God is always there to hold us together and give us hope.
And you are not only leading worship, but you're now preaching as well. How did that happen? When did you feel the pull, the call?
Yeah, well, I guess I first really felt called to do it when I was 16, but I was very scared to do that. But once I got to Bible college, I realized there were a lot of guys there that were really good at preaching. Getting caught up in the here and now has a tendency to wear me down. So I really shied away from it. I never preached during my Bible college years. I actually had a class, a preaching class, and I got up in front of the class, and when I got done, the professor of the class said, "Go sit down and don't ever bring a sermon you got off the internet here again." And I said, I didn't get this off the internet, I wrote this. He was like, "There's no way you wrote that." I'm not gonna let these negative voices define my calling. I'm gonna be who God has called me to be and do what He's called me to do.
It's so unusual, it's frightening. You see right through the mess inside me.
The song is known. Tell me about the story behind the song.
I could start again.
There was a quote that I had recently heard, and it was this quote by Timothy Keller that said, "To be loved but not known is comforting but superficial. To be known and not loved is our greatest fear. But to be fully known and truly loved is what it means to be loved by God."
And it's not one or the other. It's our truth and ridiculous grace to be known, fully known, and loved by you.
And a lot of times people don't recognize the value in you, but God always does.
And it's not one or the other. It's our truth and ridiculous grace to be known, fully known, and loved by you.
And tickets for Taran Wells' Citizens of Heaven tour are available right now. They've been on sale since May 21st. Studio 5 is looking to catch up with him on the road. And you can catch an all-new Studio 5 this evening at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time. And, of course, you can find that on the CBN News Channel. Coming up, an outreach to help first-time Christian college students. We're going to tell you how it works to help these young men and women preserve their faith. We've got the story for you when we come back.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
When students go to college for the first time, finding a Christian community can be a challenge. That is why a national platform called Every Student Sent, developed by the Ministry Campus Renewal, is dedicated to helping connect students to ministries and churches. Its founder, Jeremy Story, tells CBN's The Prayer Link program platforms like this are the best way to help students preserve their faith. Take a look.
Tell us about the Every Student Sent platform. How does it work exactly, especially, with many students working remotely because of the pandemic?
Yeah, absolutely. It simply allows students to communicate with each other and to communicate with churches and ministries on college campuses across the country. There's about 4,300 campuses coast to coast. And we basically have all the different ministries and churches that are on those campuses where you can directly communicate with their leaders. You're not so much just a directory that you then have to go find them. You can actually directly communicate with them and hear back from them, as well as talk to other students across the country or find students that are connected on your campus.
According to navigators, the first 72 hours on campus really dictates, who they bond with and often their faith trajectory. And you say connecting with them early is really the clear mission that's needed. Why is that so important?
It's a huge deal. I mean, when we think about it, it just makes natural sense. When you go to a new college, you don't have hardly any friends usually, and the friend groups that you make early on is what will often walk you through the rest of college. Those are the kinds of friends that will then help you make more friends in those same circles. And so if we can find Christians developing friendships with other Christians and then working with those believers to not just hide off in some corner somewhere. That's not the goal here. It isn't just to, quote, protect at all. It's to send them on mission. And so that as they connect with each other, other believers, And then those believers then go to the business school or the art school or whatever school they're a part of, and they work together to bring Jesus to those around them in the context where they are. That is the, if you want to call it, secret sauce to seeing people preserve their faith. It isn't protecting them from the evil. It is actually teaching them how to engage it, because when they learn how to engage it and engage it with other friends, that's the key part. They're not doing it alone. When they learn how to do that, that is actually the best way to preserve their faith, is to engage the darkness rather than run from it. And that's why it's so important for them to have that friend group so that they can engage it. And even more important, that they have that friend group oftentimes in their major or in areas of interest where they can work together to really, if you think about it, it's like the early church. They met in homes, they met in certain areas.
Small groups.
So what if we could meet in the dorm where your student is? If you're a parent out there, what if there were several students in that dorm who met every week to pray for those around them?
This week, you are hosting a very special webinar called Sent 21. This sounds really exciting. And it's to equip the high school class of 2021, current college students, parents, and even pastors. And you've got some fantastic speakers lined up. Tell us about the event.
Sure, absolutely. It's an event designed to bring together all the different groups of people that have interest in this. So that's youth ministers, that's parents, that's students, high school students and college students both have a role to play here. That's Christian school administrators. That's teachers in, say, secular schools that care about the students' spiritual trajectories. It's a lot of different types of people that all have youth ministers, college ministers that all have an interest, including students themselves. So we're calling all of those people together, including the students, to circle up to send students into this next school year, those who are graduating high school and heading out, and even the seniors that are headed in that same direction, to begin to send them on mission and circle them together, because it really does take a crowd to make this happen. And that's what every Student Sent is about. Not just one ministry or one church, but really we're a network of all the ministries and all the churches, and then parents and everybody else, even Christian schools across the country, Christian high schools, so we can work together to solve this problem.
So how can students, parents, and anyone else get involved?
You can just go to everystudentsent.org. You can sign up literally right now for free, and you can begin to communicate with other students. You can also look into different colleges across the country and communicate with different college ministries as well.
Jeremy Story, thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you guys very much for highlighting this extremely important issue. I appreciate it.
God bless you.
And again, you can participate by going to everystudentsent.org. Time now for your Wednesday word, and today I want to leave you with this. He is the God who seeks you out. He sees you where you are. He sees you as you are, and he also sees you for who you should be. Exactly how is this possible? Because he sees you through the eyes of grace. Today is a great day to put on those grace glasses and allow yourself to see yourself as God sees you. That alone will make all the difference, and you will see that he has got a great plan and purpose for your life, and you are not alone. He is a God who sees you, he seeks you out, and finds you exactly where you are. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN Newswatch. I want to remind you, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We'd love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us. The address is right there at the bottom of your screen, newswatch@cbn.com. You can also reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We certainly would love to hear from you. Hope you'll join us again right here again next time. I encourage you to make this a wonderful Wednesday and a wonderful rest of the week. We'll see you tomorrow.